The clock struck midnight in the gleaming tower of Westbridge Financial, but Marcus Chen wasn't going anywhere. The 42-year-old janitor pushed his cleaning cart down the executive floor, his worn coveralls a stark contrast to the polished marble beneath his feet. His calloused hands moved methodically, wiping down surfaces with the same care he once gave to everything in his life, back when things were different. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sparkled like scattered diamonds. Marcus paused, allowing himself a moment to remember when he used to look at this view from the other side, when he wore tailored suits instead of maintenance uniforms. That was before the accident, before the medical bills, before his world narrowed to one singular purpose, keeping his 6-year-old daughter Lily safe and fed. The executive suite door stood open, light spilling into the hallway. Marcus knocked softly before entering, a courtesy he extended even to empty rooms. But the room wasn't empty. Victoria Hartwell sat behind her massive desk, her blonde hair pulled back in its signature style, still wearing her navy business suit at this ungodly hour. At 38, she had built her reputation on being the first one in and the last one out. As CEO of Westbridge Financial, she commanded respect through excellence, not intimidation. But tonight, something in her posture spoke of weariness that went beyond boardroom battles. "Forgive me, Ms. Hartwell," Marcus said quietly, already backing toward the door. "I'll come back later." "No, please," Victoria said, her voice softer than he'd ever heard it. "I could use the company, even if it's silent." Marcus nodded and began his work, emptying the small waste bin, dusting the credenza. He'd learned long ago that wealthy people often treated service workers like furniture, invisible and unremarkable. But Victoria had always been different. She said good morning. She said thank you. Small gestures, perhaps, but they reminded Marcus he was still human. "Do you have children, Marcus?" Victoria asked suddenly. He looked up, surprised she knew his name. "Yes, ma'am. A daughter. Lily. She's 6. 6, Victoria repeated, and something flickered across her face. Pain, perhaps. Longing. That's a beautiful age. Full of wonder. "She is," Marcus agreed, his voice warming as it always did when speaking of Lily. "She's everything." Victoria stood and walked to the window, her reflection ghostly against the night sky. "I'm 48, Marcus." "No, I'm 38, but some days I feel 48. I've built an empire, broken glass ceilings, made more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. And I go home to an empty penthouse every night." Marcus stopped cleaning, recognizing the universal sound of a human heart in pain. Age and wealth didn't insulate anyone from loneliness. "I had someone once," Victoria continued, still facing the window. "We were going to have children, build a life. But I chose board meetings over birthday parties, merger talks over marriage talks. By the time I looked up from my desk, he was gone. And now it's too late." "It's never too late, Miss Hartwell," Marcus said gently. "Not for the things that matter." She turned to face him, and he saw tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. "How do you do it, Marcus? I've seen your file. I know about the accident, the medical bankruptcy, your wife's passing. How do you keep going?" Marcus set down his cleaning cloth. In his mind, he saw Anna's face, her last whispered words in the hospital, "Take care of our girl. Be happy. Don't just survive. Because Lily needs me," he said simply. "And because giving up would dishonor the gift my wife gave me. Every day is hard, Miss Hartwell. Every day I worry about bills, about whether I'm enough for my daughter. But every day, Lily smiles at me like I hung the moon, and that makes it all worthwhile." Victoria wiped at her eyes, a gesture so human it broke through her polished exterior. "I envy you, Marcus. You have something real. Something that matters." The following weeks brought subtle changes. Victoria began working later, always seeming to be in her office when Marcus made his rounds. Their conversations grew longer, more personal. She asked about Lily's progress in school, remembered details from previous talks. Marcus found himself looking forward to these midnight exchanges, these moments when titles and status dissolved into simple human connection. One evening, Marcus arrived to find Victoria at her desk, papers scattered everywhere, her head in her hands. "Ms. Hartwell." She looked up, and he saw the exhaustion etched into her features. "The Pemberton deal is falling apart. 6 months of work, Marcus. 6 months of negotiations, and it's crumbling because I missed one crucial detail." Marcus hesitated, then spoke. My wife used to say that sometimes we're so focused on building the castle, we forget to check if we're building it on solid ground. Maybe this deal isn't crumbling. Maybe it's showing you where the foundation was weak all along. Victoria stared at him for a long moment, then began gathering the papers with renewed purpose. You're right. You're absolutely right. 2 days later, the Pemberton deal was restructured. Not only did it go through, but it went through stronger than the original proposal. Victoria credited her team publicly, but that night, she told Marcus the truth. You saved this company millions, she said. Your wisdom, your perspective, it cut through all the noise. I just shared what my Anna taught me, Marcus replied quietly. Victoria stood and approached him, her expression serious. Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I need you to really hear me. He set down his cleaning supplies, giving her his full attention. What if I told you that you don't have to do this anymore? What if I offered you a position in the company, something that uses your mind instead of wearing down your body? Marcus felt his heart clench. Ms. Hartwell, I appreciate the thought, but I don't have the education, the credentials. You have something better, Victoria interrupted. You have wisdom. You have perspective. You have integrity. She paused, then said words that would change everything. Marcus, I need someone I can trust. Someone who sees clearly when everyone else is blinded by ambition and politics. Why me? Marcus asked, genuinely confused. Because in 3 months of midnight conversations, you've never asked me for anything. You've never angled for advantage. You just showed up, did your work with dignity, and treated me like a person instead of a stepping stone. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Marcus thought of Lily, of the tiny apartment they shared, of the constant stress of making ends meet. He thought of his pride, the voice in his head that said he didn't deserve handouts. But he also thought of Anna's last words, be happy. Don't just survive. What did you have in mind? He asked carefully. Victoria smiled, and it transformed her face. Come work for me. Not as a janitor, but as my special advisor. Someone who can look at problems with fresh eyes. Someone who isn't afraid to tell me the truth. The pay would be substantial, Marcus. Enough to give Lily the life she deserves. I don't know what to say, Marcus admitted. Say yes, Victoria urged. Say yes to possibility. Say yes to your daughter's future. And maybe, her voice grew softer, say yes to becoming friends with someone who desperately needs one. Marcus looked at this powerful woman, saw past the designer suit and corner office to the lonely person underneath. He thought about connection, about how two broken people might help each other heal. On one condition, Marcus said. This has to be real. A real job, with real expectations. I won't be anyone's charity case. Deal, Victoria extended her hand. You start Monday. And Marcus. Bring Lily to the office this weekend. I'd like to meet her properly. That Saturday, Marcus brought Lily to Westbridge Financial. The little girl's eyes grew wide at the towering building, at the marble lobby, at the private elevator that whisked them to the top floor. But when she met Victoria, something remarkable happened. You're the lady from Daddy's stories, Lily said with the brutal honesty of childhood. He says you're sad but trying to be brave. Victoria knelt down to Lily's level, her eyes misting. Your daddy is very wise. And very kind. He's the best daddy in the whole world, Lily declared. Then, with the innocence that only children possess, she added, Are you going to be my friend too? Victoria glanced at Marcus, then back at Lily. I'd like that very much. They spent the afternoon in the office. Lily colored pictures at the conference table while Victoria and Marcus talked about his new role. But more than that, they talked about life, about loss, about the courage it takes to start over. As the sun set over the city, Lily fell asleep on the leather couch, her small body curled under Marcus's jacket. Victoria sat beside Marcus, both of them watching the child sleep. Thank you, Victoria said softly. For what? For reminding me what matters. For showing me that success isn't measured in quarterly reports. For, she paused, choosing her words carefully, for seeing me as a person, not just a title. Marcus turned to her. We're all just people, Miss Hartwell. Some of us just have fancier offices. She laughed, a genuine sound of joy. Call me Victoria. Please. The months that followed brought transformation. Marcus proved to be exactly what Westbridge Financial needed, his clear thinking and honest perspective cutting through corporate double talk. But more importantly, a genuine friendship blossomed between Marcus and Victoria. They worked together, yes, but they also shared meals, swapped stories, and slowly, carefully, began to trust each other with their broken pieces. Victoria became a fixture in Lily's life, attending school plays and birthday parties. And Marcus watched as Victoria transformed from a lonely executive into someone who laughed freely and loved openly. One evening, exactly 1 year after that first midnight conversation, Victoria and Marcus stood in the corner office, watching the city lights. "I have a confession," Victoria said. "That night when you first saw me crying, I wasn't just upset about work. I was seriously considering whether my life had any meaning at all." Marcus felt his heart clench. "Victoria, let me finish," she said gently. "You saved me, Marcus. Not by giving me business advice, but by showing me that there's more to life than boardrooms and balance sheets. You and Lily, you showed me what family really means." "You saved us too," Marcus admitted. "Not just financially, though that's changed our lives. But you gave me something I thought I'd lost forever. You gave me hope that it's possible to heal, to connect, to maybe even love again someday." Victoria turned to him, her eyes bright with emotion. "Marcus Chen, you are the most remarkable man I've ever met. Not because of what you've accomplished, but because of who you are. You're kind, honest, strong, and you've taught me more about living than I learned in 40 years before meeting you." Marcus took her hand. "You're pretty remarkable yourself, Victoria Hartwell." They stood there, two people who had found each other in the most unlikely of circumstances, holding hands as the city sparkled below them. Not everything had to be rushed. Not everything had to be decided tonight. Sometimes, the greatest strength was in allowing things to unfold naturally, in trusting that the connection they'd built was strong enough to withstand time and patience. "What happens now?" Marcus asked. Victoria smiled. Now we keep building. One day at a time. Together." And in that moment, Marcus understood that Anna had been right. Life wasn't about just surviving. It was about finding joy in unexpected places, connection in unlikely circumstances, and the courage to open your heart even after it's been broken. The corner office had witnessed countless business deals, but tonight it held something far more valuable, two souls finding their way home. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on second chances and unexpected friendships. Your support helps us bring more meaningful stories to life.